Happy President's Day weekend, good girls. As you know, good girls' favorite holiday of the year is President's Day. Uh, just
Undisputed. It's definitely better than Christmas
it's
and
I mean,
Halloween.
what's not to love about a random Monday off in February? This is SJ here with my co-host Kay. We did decide to do a what we titled the sluttiest U.S. presidents episode in the way of good girls. What we found out is, upon doing some more research, slutty might not be the best word to use so much as abuse of power.
Horde.
Um, yeah,
Just men with money and power. Like, maybe not a good thing.
yeah. So just throughout this episode, please know that when we use the word slutty, we're not using it in the fun reappropriating via slut walks on behalf of our girl bosses everywhere. This is more like
Problematic.
problematic sluts. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
the most
problematic,
problematically
but we're
slutty.
like not talking about their politics at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, just problematic in their life outside of their office role.
exactly. We are also leaving off the current president, who I would say veers totally off of slutty into problematic, and also because we are awaiting the future court cases when all of the Epstein files truly come to light before we can give this president his final ranking in the echelon of slutty and
We are still
problematic
trying to
presidents.
interpret what grab them by the pussy means.
Yes, and also we need to have the Melania documentary come out and pointedly not watch it before we can draw any
I
final
might see it
conclusions.
in theaters, I don't know. Like, I might see, like, one of, like, the release to theater.
I will watch it out of curiosity, but only a bootleg copy if that exists of Prime Videos, such that they get no viewer counts whatsoever. Or I'll probably entirely watch via stitches done by other people so that I can get the main points without having to actually give them any views.
And to count
So
as a
let's
stream, yes.
jump right in. Kay, I know you and I made our top 10 lists, and we had a lot of synergy on, sort of generally where some of the presidents number 5 through 10 fell. But it is a little bit contested, hot contested, exactly who ranks the sluttiest for our top 5. So I will let you start with your number one candidate, and then I'm going to throw in my number one, who was your number two.
Okay, so became obsessed with my number one candidate, and not because I was obsessed with him, but I was obsessed with his mistresses. Warren G. Harding, 29th president, served from 1921 to 1923 when he sadly died. I think he's going down to the
Sadly.
fiery pits. Um, so also did not age well. He was only 57 when he died. You might want to see pictures of him. Looked
He looked
80-ish.
like Walter Cronkite at the end of Walter Cronkite's life, and Walter Cronkite did live to be 80 something, right?
Right. So he said, "It's a good thing I'm not a woman because I would always be pregnant. I can't say no," which I really, really loved that he said that he can't say no because when he was like 50 something, he was hooking up with a 20-year-old and got her pregnant. And that was confirmed later on down the line with DNA tests. I'll get there.
He can't say no. Yeah.
Yeah, he can't say no. He couldn't say no
He
to the
he was
20-year-old.
honestly trying to, but he couldn't, but these 20-year-olds kept throwing themselves at this 57-year-old Walter Cronkite
Ugh.
lookalike.
He's just so disgusting looking. So I really love his mistress, Carrie Phillips, because he sent her these steamy love letters that said really, really lovely things in them. So he called his penis Jerry, and he said, "Jerry came and will not go. Says he loves you, that you are the only love worthwhile in this world. And I must tell you, and a score or more of other fond things that he suggests, but I spare you. You must not be annoyed. He is so utterly devoted that he only exists to give you all." So that is from Jerry, his penis.
Yes, which is a
Yeah.
terrible name for a
I
penis. I am
love
all for you naming your penis. I'm more for your, partner naming your penis on your behalf, but Jerry's a terrible name, we can say without
He
question.
also termed the vagina of one of his mistresses Mrs. Powderson, and this was, like, per the
Ew.
politicals, so it feels like there's some reason to believe this is true.
Okay.
So what I
I
love
mean, I
about
have
Carrie
to imagine
Phillips.
that a lot of these letters got preserved as part of his presidential record so we could know officially how cringe he was.
So the RNC had to pay Mistress Carrie Phillips, who received the 1920 sex, $5,000 a month in hush money, and that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And she tried to blackmail him into an anti-war stance, which I'm just obsessed with.
Yes, girl.
Like, is this what we should all be doing to end things? Is just being sex espionage and then blackmailing people to take the stances we want? Is this what lobbying should become? Just something for us to think
You know
about.
that that's already happening.
I'm not I wouldn't I don't know if I would hate it. I mean, I would hate it, but I'd be intrigued, that's for sure. So Nan Britton, so she's the one who had the baby, and she received child support payments that were hand delivered by the Secret Service. And she reported
They
other
do
things
some
that
weird
must be
things.
true. Like they had sex in the coat closet of the White House, and then the Secret Service kept watch and would knock on the door when his wife was coming by. But I'm so confused. Were there no other rooms available in the White House? Like, why
Yeah,
a
or
coat
can you not get
closet?
a hotel? I
Like, there
mean,
had to
so
be somewhere
I'm just
else.
thinking back to they had a survey of the top 10 professions that had the highest incidence of cheating, and they were all jobs that you have a very irregular schedule with a lot of travel and a lot of reasons to be out and about on a varying schedule so that your spouse wouldn't be surprised. For example, realtor, pilot, those are on there. These are ones where it's not surprising to your spouse if you have to be out of the house on an evening. So I feel like this would be another one
Imagine
of those
having sex with
professions where
another
you're
person in a closet of your house while your
right. I
partner
mean,
was
I had a high
home.
school Spanish teacher who was having an affair with a student, and they were doing it in the custodian's mop closet, but that honestly makes a lot more sense as the only available space for them. She was 18. Not that it necessarily was acceptable, but I feel like if you're the president, it should be pretty easy to arrange a little emergency war council at Camp David or something, and then you're really just going to meet up with your mistress. So,
Yeah,
mm,
so that's my pitch for Warren G. Harding as number 1 sluttiest
okay.
US president in our history.
Well, I honestly, I feel like maybe he does deserve the number 1 space because my number 1 candidate was gonna be JFK, but he's the obvious one, and everybody knows what a famous slut JFK was in terms of, pure sluttiness. Actually, I'm gonna give it to Warren G. Harding. JFK, definitely slutty, definitely problematic, because his various affairs range the full gamut from his well-known celebrity affairs. Of course, we all know about Marilyn Monroe. I've heard about Audrey Hepburn before, Marlene Dietrich, Elizabeth Taylor. So apparently, his affair with Marilyn Monroe mostly happened at Bing Crosby's house because he has all of his connections with the Rat Pack. Um, the questionable one about this one is that Monroe had dreams of becoming the first lady and allegedly wrote to Jackie explaining her intentions. I didn't have time to research this. I just want to know more. This was from an
She
actual
was, like, an incredibly ambitious woman, so I think I might believe that.
yeah, I
I do.
wanna know, how you write this letter, especially you didn't have AI to help you assist in writing that, or even Clippy back then, like, it looks like you're about to write a letter to the wife of the man you're having an affair with. And then allegedly Bobby Kennedy had a much longer affair with Monroe, and he was possibly responsible for arranging for her murder, and that there are theories out there that she did not die by suicide, that she was actually murdered by Bobby Kennedy just because of this whole Kennedy family mess. And honestly, with the Kennedys, I'd be willing to entertain any theories. Um, but the whole Bing Crosby thing crosses over into JFK's connections with the Rat Pack and also with the mafia. And that's where I feel like JFK maybe crosses the line a little bit from there are potentially some allegations that he arranged to have them killed so that their details wouldn't come out. So it's not
Huh.
just that one.
Ooh, I did not know
Um,
about the dark side. I should have
yeah, he
known
had
it.
well, I started digging into this because I was curious about him. He had at least 2, women that he fucked with. One was a longtime girlfriend when he was in the Navy, and one was a call girl that he had an affair with, and both of them had allegations of being Soviet spies. So, he's just again, like, probably the most problematically slutty in terms of, like, where he's sticking his business. So there is the famous saying that he said to the British Prime Minister at the time, "If I don't have a lay for 3 days, I get a headache." And also on the
Just
flip
don't
side of
think that's
that,
possible.
yeah, and also, like,
Does
I
not make
have to
sense.
believe JFK that there are medications for this. There are better ways than, like,
Jack
having affairs
off,
with
you know?
Soviet side. Yeah,
Like
exactly. You can also, this is a very questionable one in that his wife was one of the
Jackie O.
loveliest.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, she's just, like, the symbol of classiness, and so I feel like that makes him additionally trashy that he had a wife that just seemed like such a catch, and meanwhile, he's, just over here with, like, everybody else.
what I loved was that actress Angie Dickinson said that sex with him was the best 20 seconds of her life, and that quick, intense lovemaking was mentioned by several others. Like, okay, so he wasn't that good.
Yeah, I just really feel there's a general historical trend throughout this as I was reading about different presidential affairs, that the closer you get to the present, the harder it is to be like, "Oh, they were just kind of fun little sluts having things on the side," and the more that
No,
you
they were
recognize
bad.
the problematic dynamics, and I think it's because as we get to closer to the present day, we start to realize like, "Oh, no, that's actually hugely problematic that you had all these imbalanced power dynamic relationships." So, anyway, just kind of looking at it in his historical context, I guess he was just kinda quick draw, and ladies not having gotten a lot of other more satisfying sex at the time were finding that to be very fun for them.
Hmm. So, can we
Yeah,
go
so
into the next? Because I'm kind of obsessed with a line from him.
yes, let us jump into the next. So we have LBJ. I think we both independently agreed that he should be on there. Give us
Well,
the
he bragged that he had more women by accident than JFK had on purpose, which, like, I love as, like, a brag because I get LBJ was objectively, like, not that attractive of a man, and JFK objectively, like, had a charismatic kind of Prince Charming look
yeah,
to him,
right.
that for him to be like, "Oh, I slept with more women." I'm like, "Yeah, like, against their will. It's not
Okay,
like"
okay. It may have been, and I truly only knew about this through watching John Oliver. It may have been due to his huge balls. And again, I don't know what was pleasing the ladies at the time.
Jumbo.
Yes, and
Jumbo is what he
there
called
is
his
data
penis.
in his presidential library because at that point, they were recording for posterity all of the president's phone calls. So we have such lovely quotes as his conversation with his tailor, in which he talks about how he needs to have the crotch let out in his pants. He says, "When you make them up, give me an inch so that I can let it out down there, because they cut me. It's just like riding a wire fence." And he needs a little extra inch back to his bunghole, he says. So yeah, apparently famously huge balls. We don't know anything about the size of his dick, just that his balls were massive.
So, I
Um,
do think that we know it was big because in Robert Delec's Lone Star Setting, the biographer wrote that during this meeting when they said, like, "Why do you have to be in Vietnam?" He unzipped his fly, drew out his substantial organ, and declared, "This is why."
I would truly like to know if this is where the phrase slapping it down on the table actually came from, and people making that motion, that big dick energy motion of slapping your dick down on the table. Did that originate from LBJ?
He also would purposely take meetings from the toilet because he said that there was no better way to intimidate or show that he was the one in power than having like an underling take orders from him while he was on the john. He's like, if somebody's gonna listen to you and follow your commands while you're while you're on the toilet, then what else will they do for you? Which is so gross. Men are so
Yeah.
weird.
Kings throughout history have been known for doing that. I feel like it's more just what will people do to keep their job because people need money and capitalism is fucked. But that's another take on it as well. And also makes me rethink the flex that texting from the toilet might be. Because you're
Such a
like, if
flex.
they're taking my text that I send from the toilet, imagine where else they will
Yeah, I
take
just
my
let people
texts
know
from.
afterwards, "I sent this from the toilet." So
I have amended my email tagline to say "sent while texting on the toilet."
So I'm guessing at the pronunciation here, Helen Gahagan Douglas. She was a congresswoman at the time, and they had like an open affair. It was basically public. They would hold hands with each other, everything, and it went on for like a pretty long time. And that's among other affairs. Secret Service agents referred to all the different women that he was with as his harem. And he apparently, though I feel like this like needs to be fact checked, installed an Oval Office buzzer to alert him of Lady Bird's approach.
At least he wasn't in the closet at the time.
Like, what was he doing in that chair? Like, why he could've
Ugh,
maybe that
the
is
things
better
that
than
have
using
happened in that
the coat
office,
closet.
I mean, yeah, it's
Ugh.
gonna need to be deep cleaned. I mean, current company included. Yeah, I think this also just kind of dates back to the time when I was listening to a podcast talking about how the relationship between the press and those in power used to be much more of this old boys club. We'll report whatever news you want us to report, but we'll keep kind of your personal dirty details under wraps. And there was this famous case, it wasn't a president, it was with a senator, where those dynamics got flipped. Or maybe it was something around the JFK administration, because I think that was about the timeline that things started to change. I think it's just kind of interesting when you look back historically that a lot of the older presidents is just kind of like, yeah, they kind of publicly kept mistresses. You go back further in time, I mean, kings just had official concubines and things like that. So, yeah, I guess that makes them extra slutty that they were not even trying to hide it, and yet maybe kind of were trying to keep their wife out of it. That just seems like a weird dynamic that you're like, "Oh, everybody knows that I have a mistress, but I don't want my wife walking in on us." If I were her, I'd just, be off at the spa all the time, not giving a fuck.
I would find other things to do as a first lady. I don't know, I don't wanna deal with the jumbo balls.
Yeah, ugh. So
So,
number 4 is
Bill
Bill
Clinton?
Clinton, and I do wanna say that apparently he is a little bit treading in the footsteps of another famous president in that the actual, having a White House intern in and using your power to influence her to give you a blowjob, and in JFK's case, maybe getting her to do drugs. That's actually something that was invented by JFK. Mimi Alford is a name of a 19-year-old White House intern that he apparently influenced her, coerced her. I guess the interpretation is open on that
He had
word, but
that
I think
nice
when she's
Southern
19 and
accent.
you're the president, I'm gonna say coerced her to give him a blowjob. So it wasn't even creative that Bill Clinton did it. It was just problematic.
He should have thanked JFK in his inaugural speech, and I plan
I
to
know,
carry
for
on in
giving
his
him
footsteps. Just a lot of
slutty ideas.
action.
So Bill
Ooh,
Clinton, I feel like
some
we can
dark
spend not
stuff.
too much time on because this is within most of the good girl's lifetime. And honestly, more of a shout out to the women who spoke up because this was a time when women got a lot of shit for speaking up. And the media at the time, I definitely remember them railing on Monica Lewinsky for being slutty and just making jokes about it and stuff. And so this is a huge shout out to Monica Lewinsky, who I feel like would have been totally within her rights to just change her name and disappear and, become somebody low key in a small town somewhere. But instead, the social media presence that she has and the way that she's used how she was treated by the media to really get us to question a lot of how we looked at different women throughout history that got used in power dynamics by men and then ragged on by the media. I just think that Monica Lewinsky is a bit of a personal hero of mine now.
Like, as time goes on, you only realize exactly how brave she was, 100%.
I do have to say one thing, the actual
Mhm.
sluttiest thing about Bill Clinton is his saxophone playing because most of his other behavior is just problematic, but he
Leave it
does
to you to
seem
find the instrument.
leave it yes, well, I'm not saying that not let me be clear, I'm not saying that I am turned on by it in the slightest, I'm just saying that saxophone is a sexy time instrument, like, the only reason that it exists is to, like, lay down sexy Kenny G solos, which in the '90s was considered a sexy thing, I think now it's just cheesy, I'm just saying that was a slutty move by him of any instrument that you could pick, he plays the saxophone, I'm just saying, very slutty, and
Hillary
leave it
should
to
have
me
known
to
from the
find the
get-go, if he plays the saxophone, then he's a slut.
yeah.
Um,
We
it's
should ask somebody who
science.
is in band if that's true, but I feel like saxophone players are more like aspirational sluts, not necessarily actually, slaying pussy in real life, but we should find out.
Most
Do a
band
survey.
members. Um, so FDR And keep in mind that he was doing all this, and he was handicapped. He was in a wheelchair, and so there was likely, an aide involved helping him in many of these situations, given the quality of the wheelchairs in the 1940s. So I feel
I
like
mean,
we
I
should
think in
almost
most of these cases,
increase his rank.
yeah, they had enlisted their aides, their Secret Service in their sort I mean, like, I know it's JFK too, he had a special assistant whose job it was pretty much just Dave Power. His side hustle was actually just to score prostitutes for the president, so I think these guys, like, all had their staff in on it.
Whew. So he had long-term flings with his wife's secretary, Lucy Mercer, and also with his aide, Marguerite Lehand. And kind of sexy, there was potentially a wartime romance. Well, I guess not sexy because he's cheating on his wives.
But maybe slutty.
Yeah, if you remove Eleanor from the picture, the potential wartime romance with the Norwegian Princess Martha, again, pretty cool. He's picking up a lot of girls for someone whose legs were taken from by polio.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, of all the ones, this might be the least problematic because we're not really clear if Eleanor Roosevelt was into men, right? I mean, I thought that she was
I
kind of
haven't thought
famous.
about it
Well, she had a
before.
long-term romantic relationship with Lorena Hickok, and their letters came out later, so like that was definitely a thing. And obviously, like we cannot speculate whether she's lesbian or bisexual, so she may have also been in it for the men.
Okay, well, that is actually good to know. FDR, maybe you were just seeking love outside of your marriage because your partner was not into you.
Well,
Little
I mean,
did
I
I
think that
know.
he might have been a slut regardless because I think men just were at the time, especially men in power. So I was Googling this because I wanted to know if there's any speculation on whether she was lesbian or bisexual. And it says that she did have flirtations with men, leading to suggestions she might have been bisexual, but her only actual documented relationship that was her deepest lasting relationship was with Hickok. So I think that maybe theirs was just a nice marriage of convenience, which I also kind of think about the Clintons, not that I'm gonna speculate about Hillary's sexuality, but seemed like much more that they were in it for how they could mutually help one another. Maybe a lot of these marriages were. I definitely with FDR, maybe less problematic if his wife was off doing her own thing.
Very interesting. Learned something new today. Thank you, SJ.
We'll do
Okay.
another episode on, famous historical lesbians.
Yeah, I think that might be needed because even things have come out here, which we will get to in the honorable mentions. Okay,
Okay.
number 6, Thomas Jefferson. 38-year affair with an enslaved woman, Sally Hemings. Am I the asshole? And we just imagine him as like a Reddit poster, like, "Hi, I've been treating a woman as property for 38 years, and then she had a child that's mine, and then I treated them as property too." That.
Yeah. I would say Thomas Jefferson, if we're doing axes of slutty and problematic, he's very high on the problematic one and a little bit
Maybe
high
the
on
most problematic? I don't know.
yeah, I would say most
Slavery?
problematic
Yeah.
and, yeah, exactly. I would say most problematic and also that's not very slutty because he was just with the same person. But I guess he did have then some of his other little side pieces, right?
Married socialites, including Maria Cosway, wife of a fellow founding father. That's, like,
Ew.
cryptic. Yeah.
So,
Drama among the
okay.
founding fathers.
A bit of a slut as well.
Yeah.
Definitely most problematic and, yeah.
Have you ever been to Monticello?
Yes, a long time ago.
Okay, I went maybe, like, 6 years ago or so, and I can tell you that room totally screams like, like men love to show off their toys, whatever
Yeah.
their toys are at that level. It starts when they're 3, and then it goes right on to when they're 80. "Do you wanna see my car?" Uh, yeah, the room is very, very much so has all of his little science toys in it, and it was apparently left as is. So, this is not
Ugh.
surprising that he's bringing people back there.
Yeah.
Um, number 7, Grover Cleveland.
This was my addition. First of all, because of his marriage. So he was the only president to get married in the White House. So I feel like if you are dating while president and while running for office, that automatically makes you at least a little bit slutty. And then on the problematic aspect, he married his own ward. So that's somebody that you are responsible for if their parents died. So he
It's
knew
like
her
a
since she was
romanticy novel.
ugh, yeah, exactly. It's like, "Oh, that's cute," until you think about it, and then
Age
you're like,
gap.
"Ooh, yeah, problematic." Yeah, she's 28 years younger than him. So he was 28 when she was born. He did know her since she was born, Frances Folsom. She was the daughter of his late law partner. So the law partner died when Frances was 11. He kind of kept in touch with her throughout school. Then he gets to the point where people are like, "Oh, the president has to have a first lady," especially back in that time. So he's in contact with her. Apparently, she did write in letters to her mom that she was interested in marrying an older man. So there might have been some mutuality again here. It's always murky in these age gap relationships. The funny thing is that popular gossip considered Frances Folsom's mother to be probably who they thought that he was flirting with. And Cleveland wonders about this and says why people keep speculating and pairing him with, quote, old ladies. And I'm
Uh,
like,
and she
she
was definitely
probably,
probably younger than
I
him.
was gonna say if Frances is 28 years younger than him, then probably the mom is also, because I'm guessing she probably had kids more like when she was
Men are the
25, 24.
worst. I'm not
So
even
probably this woman
like
was younger than him, and so, also ick points for Grover Cleveland for saying that. He did also father an illegitimate child during his first campaign. So, as far as we know, once he did marry, in his questionably icky relationship with Frances, he was fairly non-slutty, but, did father an illegitimate child, which just seemed to be much more of a thing for men back then. They just,
so,
couldn't keep
this
it to themselves.
makes me laugh 'cause, so the romanticy book To Bleed a Crystal Bloom, I read this recently. It's by Sarah A. Parker. She wrote the When the Moon Hatched series, which is the most beautiful book. It's really great. To Bleed a Crystal Bloom, a little problematic. It is a man and his ward who he rescued when she was 2 and he was a
Oof,
teenager, and then he, like,
okay.
raised her and took care of her and everything, and it's so funny because all the Reddit chats about book 1 were like, we hope to God that this is some Tamlin trick where he is not the actual love interest, like, there's
Yeah,
no
in book
way that
2,
this
we get to
guy
meet
is.
the actual
But
love
then,
interest.
sure, yes, to the point where even though it was very clearly a villain, people were like, "Oh, the villain just must be the actual love interest," and then, of course, the books go on, and it's like, "No, he is the real love interest." It really is this gross age gap. Do I like it? Yeah, I like the book. I'm not
Well, I
I'm not
mean,
critiquing the
honestly,
book, I just, it was like, ugh.
I mean, there are, I don't wanna just, yuck all age gap relationships, especially if they are, I mean, well, obviously, this is a romantasy book, so it's fine, whatever. But, I mean, also in cases of things where there's an age gap, but they were both adults when they met, when there isn't, like, power dynamic issues, etcetera. But I have a little hard time believing with, Frances and our boy Grover here that that wasn't the case. Again, in all these cases, these men hold a lot of power, so it is hard to assume that there was any kind of equality in any of the cases for any of these relationships.
Yeah. So, Grover Cleveland, you have earned your number 7 spot, particularly with that old lady's comment. Like, yuck. And
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of you and you weren't a looker. You would have
You've
been lucky
earned
as
a
can
special
be.
mention for ick.
Yes. Big ick. So, number 8, John Tyler. So in the bedroom, sired 15 kids across 2 wives. With a lot of extra side affairs, and so a lot of little offspring, not, I won't call them offspring, they're humans. But John Tyler, really not much on him besides just the fact that he was happy to have unprotected sex people.
I feel like this is something that we should track down from one of those genealogy websites, because now with people getting tested with their DNA, it seems like something that should be tracked downable. I know a lot of people are, I am, the whatever generation of George Washington. And then, of course, with Jefferson, there are a lot of people of African American ancestry who find that they're also related to Thomas Jefferson because of all of his Sally Hemings time.
Mm. He had his last child at age 70. I'm sure he was
Ugh,
something in bed, though.
15 seconds of that
Yeah, so
particular woman's life,
we're
not
giving less
20
seconds than
seconds.
JFK. Yeah, JFK
Yeah.
was able to hold out for those 20 seconds.
Not
So
John Tyler, though. He didn't have enough to go around between all of the babies that he was making.
So George Washington, I feel like this surprised me. In my head, George Washington is like, very like moral and stuff.
Yes, because I was discussing this list with Mr. SJ, who was a history major, an American history major in college, and knows a lot about presidents. So I was saying who would be on your most and least slutty list, and he actually put George Washington on his least slutty list. So this will be unknown even to our family history buff.
So had side flings with Scottish socialite Catherine Dewar. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Teen spy Phoebe Francis
I'm really surprised if he had an affair with a teen spy because Mr. SJ definitely watches that show about George Washington's spies, whatever it's called.
and Philly hostess Eliza Powell,
Again, this
among
just dates
others.
back to, like, I
So
think that all men were slutty back then. They just had no other well, I don't know. I was gonna say that, but then John Adams famously devoted to Abigail, and also I think he was too busy with constitutional stuff to really have time to be fucking around, so
I'm just imagining like his hair with like the white curls and like the white ponytail and like
I
those
really
little
hope that
like
he kept the wig on
leggings.
for sex.
I hope that he
Also, they
was
all smell
younger with
bad.
the
He had
Teen
wooden
Spy
teeth.
February. I was thinking like Scottish the Scottish socialite. I'm like, did she like come on the boat? Like the boat? I don't know. Like to me, it's like that's just like such smelly, like unwatched situations, even among like
I guess
the
the thing
richer
is
people.
everybody's smelly back then and probably has some missing teeth, so this is more of an issue that I have with the time traveling romances because they don't mention the fact that you're going from a period in history that has dental care to a period in history where people's teeth just rotted and fell out and there wasn't really a lot you could do about it, and you're telling me that you want to make out with that historic Scottish Highlander whoever dude.
So
No.
this is Outlander in specific.
Just all of them. I feel like that's the most famous one. I guess at least in that one, she's coming from like post World War II era. So I guess she's not necessarily coming from the peak of modernity either. But there are other time traveling romance ones that are quite popular. And some of them, the heroine is time traveling from the present. And I just really have questions, especially if you go back to like the Middle Ages. Everybody was just gross.
Ugh. Yeah, bad teeth and smelly. So
Yes.
number
Rounding it
10,
out, number 10, Dwight D.
Dwight.
Eisenhower. Yeah, really just kind of the one affair, but it was a wartime affair with his driver, Kay Summersby. And according to Truman, who likes to go around making a lot of claims, but he claimed that Dwight tried to divorce his wife, Mamie, to be with his driver.
My
Um,
main takeaway is that they let him have a female driver during that time. It
I know,
feels
I feel like that
surprising
was,
to me.
well,
She
again, it was
probably was
wartime.
sexy.
It was wartime, so they let women do things then because all the men were out there on the front line, so then that was when they actually let women do stuff, and then you see the
I
downsides
feel
of
like
what
our presidents
happens.
today don't have women drivers.
That's
Like,
true. Well, I feel like we've regressed in several ways,
and one of them not
but
being
especially
allowed
with
to
the
drive
percentage of
around
women
old
in
men.
various workforces, the percentage of our riveters, if we still have riveters in this country, is much lower women than it was in the peak of World War II.
Ooh, well, we
So a couple of
understand that she
honorable
probably was sexy.
mentions.
Mhm.
My main one is James Buchanan, actually. So he deserves a mention because he's the only lifelong bachelor. So you have to assume that you're being a little bit non-problematically slutty because you don't have a wife to be cheating on. And because I wanted to leave a little bit of space here for potentially gay American presidents, because I feel like that is some positive slut energy to be together with a man that you have romantic feelings for in an era where that was obviously going to cause you a lot of problems. So he famously had a long-term relationship with William Rufus King, who was a U.S. senator and later vice president. So they were inseparable. There was a lot of gossip referring to them with like little gay nicknames.
Miss Nancy and Aunt Fancy. They're kind of cute
Yes.
names. I mean,
I know.
they're insulting and problematic, but they're cute.
Well, also back then, I feel like their insults were just, not that good. Um, So we did find a lot of their correspondence, and it's definitely affectionate. Buchanan refers to King as his better half. We didn't get to read most of their letters because they were destroyed upon King's death, which leads me to speculate that they were romantic in nature.
I'm
But
thinking Fraud
there's
and Toad.
Yeah, that is totally what it's giving. So there is a lot of debate between historians and psychologists about whether Buchanan was gay, bisexual, or asexual, and it was were they just really good friends? Did they have a sexual relationship? I feel like that's very difficult to speculate about without being, and also to use modern terms because obviously they didn't really have a very good vocabulary back then to talk about the spectrum of human sexuality. They did not have a Kinsey scale for Buchanan to use. But on that note, I feel like we should give out a shout out to Abe Lincoln as well as another likely gay president because
I
it
have not
was
looked into Abe Lincoln being potentially gay.
yeah, so, I mean, obviously, it's a discussed topic because, again, it would have been very behind the scenes. It's hard to tell whether it was just a close friendship or not, but, Joshua Speed, they famously shared a bed together, but on the other hand, he did father 4 sons with Mary Todd, and they argue that male friendships were maybe just different back then, so,
Sharing a
you
bed
can't
different?
yeah, exactly. It's like when people are like, "Oh, yeah, this aunt of mine that just lived with her roommate and their 2 chihuahuas, and they were just really good friends." I feel like it's just people whose minds are exploded by the possibility of gay people have been around as long as there have been people. It's just in various iterations of culture, we have not had a safe place for them to be gay. So you just have things like, "Yeah, this is my bestie, Josh," and we just are like, platonic friends who share a bed and whatever. And certainly there are like known people from modern times who have later come out as gay, as like completely gay, like they don't even identify as bisexual, who still manage to father children with their wife in their lavender marriage. So I
This is
personally
true.
speculate Abe Lincoln is gay. So again, I feel like a little bit
He did
slutty.
have, like, some fashion sense, that was for sure. He looked very sharp.
Oh, I just mostly think of him for the hats. But
They
on
were
that
nice
note,
hats.
I
Maybe
do
this
want to
isn't a
honorable
disagreement about the hats.
the hat's doing it for Kay. On that note, I do want to give honorable mentions to a couple of presidents who were dressing for the female gaze, but by all accounts were um, uh,
Straight, in love with their wives. Yeah.
yes,
Well, we don't know
straight
straight,
and in
but
love with their
definitely in
that
love with
were
their
for all by
wives.
all
Yeah.
accounts, yes, straight and in love with their wives and not having little side things. One was Reagan. I feel like he was very much dressing for the female gaze, despite being problematic in numerous other ways, but this is not a political episode. He only had eyes for Nancy, so in that regard, very sweet. And honorable mention to Gerald Ford. I knew less about this one. He had a stint as a male model and was a Cosmo cover boy. Definitely look up Gerald
Hottie.
Ford Cosmo cover. He is, like, in a steamy woman's
Dashing.
embrace. I'm more distracted by her eyebrows, honestly. They're very 1940s, like, drawn on to the side of her head. But yeah, he looks dashing there and apparently was really known for his looks, but also famously non-slutty in terms of his actual behaviors. But I do think that dressing like a slut should get some honorable mention since obviously these two were pandering to the female gaze.
Yes. Can we go ahead and say the least sluttiest and the least sexiest was probably John Adams? He was only in love
Yeah,
with his wife. He was very work focused and did not look like a catch. I mean, besides, the whole founding father thing.
yeah. Wasn't dressing for the female gaze, wasn't probably even aware of the female gaze. He seemed very focused on the Constitution, which also important, but we'll give him a definite
He
0
could have
out of
done better
10
on that, though. I
on
mean,
study. Yeah, honestly could have added
left some
a
holes.
little bit clarity, a little bit more protections for
Yeah, some
current
context. Yeah, like
issues.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, guns not at, schools, things like that.
Yeah,
So,
things like that. Also
the
we
small
could have
things.
given women and black people the right to vote from the beginning, but what do I know? Anyway, other least slutty quick rundown, Harry S. Truman reportedly never cheated on his wife Bess, sent her a million love letters, very much giving I want to go home and eat casserole with my wife. 0 out of 10 slutty for Harry S. Truman. Same for Jimmy Carter, who famously told Playboy that he had committed adultery in my heart many times. And I'm like, girl, if you think that that's bad, I mean, he was I don't know if he's officially a pastor in his church, but he was a preacher, very devout Christian in what seems like the true sense from people that I know that worked with him at the Carter Center. So I just feel like, girl, if that is the worst that you did that you think it's worth mentioning that you thought about, adultery in your mind compared to these people who are, like, fathering children, getting into it with Russian spies. Jimmy Carter, so pure. And honestly, I'm gonna throw in there Barack Obama. Kind of a hottie, as far as
There's no
presidents go.
question. Everybody knows that he was always loyal to Michelle.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Another who would cheat on your wife if your wife was Michelle Obama, but I would also have thought that about several other first ladies. And because I think that he's alive, and I know people who have worked with him, who say he definitely just gives off like dad vibes slash professor vibes, and doesn't really seem to like have any creeper energy,
Yeah,
which
he's not trying to have sex with a 19-year-old intern.
I feel like takes a lot in this day and age when the office of president has been used to get your way with women so much, and that he is actually attractive. Whereas, like some of these like Walter Cronkite lookalikes, like Warren Harding, they didn't even have that going for them. So they solely had their office of power that they were using to be problematic sluts. So hat tip, Barack Obama, ending things on a positive note.
Yes, and so now that we have discussed the presidents as skankiest, non-skankiest, most problematic, everything,
I like the
uh,
word skanky. Actually, I feel like that is a better word for a problematic slut.
yes, they're a bunch of skanks. It's also just, like, a little bit more demeaning, which I think is what they deserve for
Yes,
this.
and I think that there should be more words that can be used to demean men that don't apply to women, but since we don't have any, then we'll just use words that are demeaning to women and reappropriate them for problematic men.
Yeah, so Warren Harding, you are skanky skank skank. Um, and now that we have tied up our skanky presidents, we are going to go over to our next segment where we just tie things up from last episodes before saying goodbye.
My main thing is we talked about Aaron Rodgers in the last episode, and I didn't even know about his mystery wife.
He is
So
definitely Gollum.
yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of theories out there that she is actually that he married an AI chatbot, unsubstantiated. There is somebody else. Of course, once you start clicking on things about this, then your whole algorithm just becomes my algorithm briefly became Aaron Rodgers conspiracy theories.
Well,
But
he's
there
very,
was
like,
somebody.
anti-vax and other things, like, he's kind of an interesting character.
Yeah, what a weird dude. So anyway, if you're looking for a fun distraction to do some cognitive offloading beyond whatever to take a break from whatever bullshit is happening before you plug back in and become a conscientious objector, then you should definitely just like Google is Aaron Rodgers' wife an AI chatbot and report back with your theories.
And you will find that we are well justified in calling him Gollum/Yoda.
Yes, the
So
more I learn
I
about him, the
has
more I feel that this I don't know how Gollum and Yoda are the same thing, and this is where, okay, I think that when you, like, tread into nerd territory, you're a little bit on unfamiliar ground, yet somehow it's working for me.
well, it's because Yoda is very, very brilliant, and I do wanna acknowledge that Aaron Rodgers has extreme wisdom when it comes to football. But anyways, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I need something else there, I don't know, I'll think about this,
Accepting
but
other suggestions if there's a mythological character that we're missing that would best encompass the weirdness that is Aaron Rodgers.
yes, because we already have Gollum there, so we just need something to round it out. Well, I hope everybody has, the best everybody's favorite holiday of the year, President's Day. I
Yes,
hope that
get
we
out there, celebrate
celebrate
in the
our
way
men.
celebrate in the way that makes the most sense to you, which is usually buying a mattress, which honestly, now that we have just talked about the, utter
It
skank
makes
mattresses
sense.
that these presidents were, I'm suddenly understanding why mattresses are always on sale this weekend. So, good girls, go out, get yourself a new mattress, bring home whatever problematic person you want to, or don't.
Celebrate our skanks,
Check
our
their
dear skanks
genealogy.
said,
They might be related to the next president.
Have a great day. Thank you for listening. Bye.